Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I'll show the gameplay by Abhimanyu and Uddin, and this beautiful game complete in only 26 moves. And let's see how the game play. The game starts with the pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, then d4, and here you have the Petroff Defence. And at this move, the black capture the pawn at e4. Then the white continue to play bishop to d3, allow the king to go for a short castling. And at the same time, the bishop is attacking the knight. And at this move, here you can play a very interesting move, such as you can play a knight to c6, and this is a sacrifice of the knight. And if you use the bishop to capture the knight, then the position become equal because the black can attack with the pawn, and now you have a very strong pawn to control the center of the square for the black. And here the bishop has no place to escape, and all this will be a bad move. If you move up, the bishop will capture. If you move to g6, the pawn will capture. Therefore, if you move the bishop back to d3, then you can push e4, and this is a fork and will be winning back the bishop. And if you capture with the bishop, then the pawn will capture and the pawn keep on attacking the knight. And this position, the black is better, clearly better at this situation. So therefore, after the move knight capture, after the move knight to c6, the white do not capture the knight. Instead, they use the knight to capture the pawn at e5. So after capture, then you move a d4 pawn to protect the knight. And now this bishop cannot capture. If you capture, the pawn will be captured back. So after this move, the knight just capture the c6 knight, and the pawn capture it back. Then the white go for a short castling, and the black develop the bishop to allow and prepare to go for a short castling as well. So c4 was played, and now the black go for a short castling. Then c5 was played to block the bishop and attack the bishop. With this, the bishop go back to e7. After this, the knight move to d2, trying to attack the knight. And here the black push f5 to protect the knight and keep the pressure of the pawn in the center of the board. And this is a first 10 move, and the white is better in the position. So after this, the knight continue to move to f3, and then the bishop to f6 was played, trying to attack the pawn at d4. Then the queen to c2, and now the bishop goes to d7. After this, the pawn to b3, preparing to go for a bishop to b2. And here the black play bishop to e8. Another suggestion the black can play would be push the rook up to have the attack on the b file. So bishop e8 was played. After this, the knight to e5, and the knight go to this golden square, the center square, trying to have some idea to capture the pawn, also prevent the square to be occupied by the black. After this, the bishop just capture the knight, and here the pawn capture back. Then the queen to e7, trying to attack the pawn, both of the pawn. And here the bishop goes to b2 to protect the pawn. After this, f4 was played, and here the bishop just capture the knight, and the pawn capture it back. Then the queen capture it back, And here, after this f3 was black trying to keep on attack. Then if you use a pawn take the pawn, then the bishop can move to f7, and the white is still better in the position. Back to this position, after this move, e6 was played trying to open up the diagonal of the bishop. And after this, queen to g5. And this is a very simple idea to checkmate the white's king. If you make any move such as move the rook up, then the queen will just capture the g2 and it will be a checkmate. So bishop g6, the g3 pawn was played to prevent the checkmate, and now the bishop to g6 trying to attack the queen. And if you capture the pawn such as queen takes the pawn, then the white can push e7 trying to attack the rook. After the rook goes to f7, then now you can bring the rook f to e1. So at this position, the white has a decisive advantage in this position. Another suggestion you can play is a queen to f5, and this go for a queen trade-off. After queen capture, the rook capture, and it will be slightly like more same or equal position, or maybe the white is clearly better a bit. So after bishop g6, then the queen capture the free pawn, and now the white is up with 2 pawns. Then the rook a to e8, trying to prevent the pawn to move forward, and now the white capture the pawn again, and this is the idea to capture the pawn with a very simple checkmate. If the black made a mistake such as a6 move, then the queen will just capture the pawn and it will be a checkmate protected by the bishop. So after this move, bishop f5 was played. With this, the bishop can attack the pawn and the queen will protect the pawn at g7. Then the white bring more of the pieces to attack rook f to e1. You can push the pawn forward. After this, bishop just capture the pawn, and here the white is winning, and now the white can launch the pawn attack the queen. And back to position, of course, if you not take with the rook, because after take with the rook capture, then bishop capture, and now c6, and here the white is winning, and the pawn will push forward and promote easily. So after this move, back to the position at rook f e1, the bishop capture the pawn, then h4 was played trying to attack the queen, and if your queen move away out to control the g7 square, then it will be a checkmate. For example, if you move your queen to d2, then the queen will just capture and the g7 and it will be a checkmate. Therefore, the queen needs to move and protect the g7 pawn. So in this game, the black move queen to g6, and now the white continue to play rook to e5, and here the black must prevent rook to g5 and attack the queen, and continue to attack the pawn. So this rook is a very strong move and able to attack the black. And after this move, the queen move to c2, and this is a tactical blunder which causes the black to lose the game. I give a couple of seconds to figure out how the white continue to play and win the game in this position. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer. And for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves. In the actual game, after this move, the white made a very brilliant sacrifice by capturing the g7 pawn and attack the king. And here you have nothing can block the check. So after capture the pawn at g7, the black resign the game. And if you want to continue the game such as king capture, then you have a rook to g5, and now you have a double check with the bishop and with the rook. And here you have limited place to move, whereas you can only go to rook f7 or the h6. And if you choose to move the king to f7, then you have a rook to g7, and this is a checkmate protected by the bishop. So this is a very nice checkmate. And back to this version, if you move the king to h6, then you have a bishop checkmate at g7 protected by the rook. So back to this position, one of the way that the black can play such as a queen to f7. So after this, the queen can't do much and you can move away. If you move away to a5, the white is still winning, but it doesn't able to checkmate the black. So after this, the bishop can just move to f5, go for the exchange. So the white can just bring more of the pieces such as rook a to e1. So after rook capture, then you have a rook capture. Then the rook c8 to attack another pawn. And here, at this moment, here come another brilliant sacrifice by playing a c6 pawn. Then you can push forward. So after this move, if you play such as a rook capture the pawn, then it will be a mistake because it will be made again in 7. And if you make the example move such as a queen to d8 and check the king, and now you can use the rook to attack and win the queen. For example, queen to d8 and check the king. Now the king has no way to escape except to block by the queen. And once blocked by the queen, you have the rook to e8 and attack and will win the queen. So if you move the rook to protect such as rook f6, then the bishop will just capture the rook first. And now the queen still cannot capture. You can only use the pawn to capture. So if you use the pawn to capture, then the rook will just capture and check the king. After king to g7, then the queen will just capture the pawn and it will be a checkmate. And back to this position. So after capture, if the king escapes such as king to f7, then the rook will just capture and check the king. And the king move up such as king to e6. Then you have a rook check, then king to back to e7. Then you can just use the pawn to block and prevent the king to escape. And after this, you can play a G, take the bishop, then a simple rook to E7, checkmate. So basically, at this move, you can see that the rook to attack the king will be a very good and interesting idea to checkmate the black with the queen attack the pawn, and you have the hidden diagonal attack from the bishop. So at this game, you have a multiple attack and it's winning the king in the rank 7. And with this, thank you.